As a poignant peace offering was extended to petulant Prince Harry, his difficult wife, Meghan, was sensationally cut out of the picture. Although William's happy 40th birthday wishes to his brother should not be interpreted as an end to hostilities, they were certainly significant, an important gesture that might just signal the early beginnings of a long and painful family healing process. But the photo of Harry used on William and Kate's official royal website told a sorry story. Meghan Markle was edited out. This was not an accident. Make no mistake, the solo shot of the Duke of Sussex minus the Duchess sent a message that while in the fullness of time the British royals may just find a way to work things out with Harry, they do not envisage Meghan being a part of the rapprochement. As homesick Harry plans more and more return trips, it seems highly unlikely that Ms. Markle will ever set foot in the UK again. And that's just fine with William, Kate, the King, and especially Queen Camilla, described by Harry as the villain of the story. And shocking allegations in America's showbiz Bible, The Hollywood Reporter, have served as a grim reminder of the Duchess's life and controversial times when she was on the English side of the Atlantic. When in London, she was accused of bullying staff to such an extent the Queen ordered an external investigation, the results of which suspiciously were never published. Now, according to the respected Hollywood Reporter, she's at it again, chronicling the extraordinarily high turnover of staff and noting that the long list of those who have quit call themselves the Sussex Survivors Club. The magazine quotes a source close to their Montecito Majesties saying, "Everyone's terrified of Meghan. She belittles people. She doesn't take advice. They're both poor decision makers. They change their minds frequently. Harry is a very, very charming person, no airs at all, but he's very much an enabler, and she's just terrible." It appears clear that the root of Harry and Meghan's problems is Meghan's personality, her character. She's at war not only with the British royal family, who she insists treated her terribly, but with all of Britain. We're racists, we're slave drivers, we're just awful. So as far as we're concerned, and one suspects the King too, the difficult Duchess can stay where she belongs, on planet California, wallowing in her truth, which of course is not to be confused with the truth. Although a recent poll revealed that 60% of Brits appalled by Harry's attacks on the King and country never want to see him back in the regal fold again, that means his rock-bottom popularity rating is ever so slightly improving. And perhaps in years to come, the Ginger Whinger could achieve some sort of comeback. He'd better hope so, because the Sussex's showbiz ambitions are in the toilet. The Hollywood Reporter headline alone spelled deep trouble. Why Hollywood keeps quitting on Harry and Meghan. Part of the reason, apparently, is Meg's penchant for noisy tantrums and 5 a.m. emails. She's absolutely relentless, the source explains. She marches around like a dictator in high heels, fuming and barking orders. I've watched her reduce grown men to tears. In such an influential publication read by all of Tinseltown's movers and shakers, this is devastating stuff, a serious roadblock to future projects. Meanwhile, still struggling to open for business, Meghan's lifestyle site, American Riviera Orchard, is going nowhere fast. Her uneagerly awaited cooking series looks set to bring down the curtain on the Sussex's $100 million Netflix deal. And the big question is, what next? Do Harry and Meghan even know? I don't think they do you, Samara?
No, they absolutely don't know, and it seems like everything's crumbling around them as we speak. I think from the sheer staff turnover, we can decide that Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan, is a bully. A massive bully. And this Hollywood Reporter thing that's come out has been really interesting. But I was sifting through even what Harry put in his own book, Spare, Okay, I want to say...
She does the research.
No.
It's unusual, and she's the only one who does on this programme.
Well, I just wanted to directly quote this and get it right, but he said in Spare, more than once a day, a staff member would be slumped across their desk and weeping. In such a climate, there was no such thing as constructive criticism. All feedback was seen as an affront or an insult. Now, that doesn't exactly sound like a healthy work environment. That was while they were obviously at Kensington Palace, but that shows, even directly coming from him, that there were structural issues, and Meghan is a terrible handler of people. And I think that when you can't build a team around you that's loyal and that supports you, success is never going to happen.
Absolutely. Now, Simon, you don't understand America. We've established that because you think Kamala's going to win the presidential election. She's tried to pretend that a true story is a lie, and the effect of that has been to fan the flames of this story. And trust me, she will never work in Tinseltown again. She doesn't know what the she's doing.
I don't want to call her a bully. She is challenging, she is difficult, and they have a high turnover of staff. That's not great. That's not great optics, and that's not good for anybody. What I do think is really weird is the Hollywood Reporter, the Bible of Hollywood, as you so proudly proclaimed, is here doing stories about two people who aren't really Hollywood at all. They're not really Hollywood.
Well, there you have it. There you have it.
Indeed.
Therein lies their
You spend
problem.
every week
Literally.
slagging her off for being some sort of glamour girl, two-bit actress. She's not doing Hollywood films. Harry isn't Hollywood at all. If the Hollywood Reporter is such a great and reputable publication, which you will argue it is.
It is.
Which you will argue it is.
You think it is a scandal rag?
Wait there. Why is it doing two-bit stories about two-bit actresses and not wait for it?
There you have it, folks. There you have it, folks.
Wait for it.
A two-bit actress, Simon London,
Which
just
I'm
called
happy to
Meghan.
say.
Whoa,
Which I'm happy to say.
whoa.
I'll say it again. Two-bit actress.
There you
Why
go.
is it not? Where was the Hollywood Reporter when you wanted it to be uncovering stories about true Hollywood power players like Harvey Weinstein? Waited for Ronan Farrow to do that, didn't it?
You having a go at the Hollywood
No, wait a
Reporter?
second.
Attacking Harry and Meghan, they're chick feed. They're chick feed. Everybody
Are you
does
saying-
it. The Express
are you
does
saying-
it.
are you saying-
I'm saying the Hollywood Reporter has jumped on the clickbait bandwagon. Harry and Meghan sells advertising on their online website.
calling-
It's a bit of a non-story.
Are you calling the Hollywood Reporter a scandal rag?
I'm just saying it's changed.
It's not, is
I'm
it?
saying it's pivoted to
No.
do stories
No,
about
wait.
two-bit
Wait,
royals
wait
who
a second.
aren't Hollywood
Wait, hang
stars.
on,
They're not
Simon.
Hollywood stars.
Wait a second. They've got a $100 million contract with Netflix. They've made a documentary series. He's got a series on the world's most boring sport, polo, coming out, which, by the way, is horrendously cruel. I bet he doesn't cover that angle. She's got a cooking series coming out. They were on Spotify. This is big Hollywood.
They're not Hollywood
Wait
players.
a second.
They're not Hollywood
This
players.
is big Hollywood business. $100 million, that is worth the Hollywood Reporter covering. And you can't call it a scandal rag. It is a serious publication. I lived there, I read it every bloody day. You have to when you live in Tinseltown, right, Samara?
Yes, and Simon, you know what? Therein lies the problem when you say they're not Hollywood. Hollywood is allowed to have divas, okay? Hollywood has lots of divas.
Full of
and deviants.
No, it's full of egomaniacs
deviants.
and divas, and we know from lots of reports on cheap Ryman's photo shoots that Meghan was a diva well before she entered the palace, and she kept that persona, and she treated palace staff like they were assistants on a photo shoot in a Hollywood thing. And you know what? This is the issue. She acts like royalty. She still uses a lot of the royal crests. Royalty is about service to the people. Okay, so why are they acting like Hollywood divas and then putting one foot in and pretending to be royals?
Look, all I'm saying...
It doesn't make sense. They're not acting like royalty, and that's the whole problem. People wouldn't really go after them if they were just, some D-list actors.
What you just said seems a little bit insane anyway. Why are they not acting like royalty?
Only a little bit.
Well, they've got to have one foot in the go out and make money for yourself and not be on the civil list side, and one foot in we are the Duchess and Duke of Sussex. And those two things do not mesh together very well.
They don't.
They don't mesh together very well.
We agree that. We agree that.
Okay, so let's agree that. But these people, in terms of talking about huge Hollywood, the Sumner Redstones or whoever they're called, the people who run studios and everything else, they are just not those people.
Yeah,
this becomes another clickbait story. And you talk about
They aren't. They're royalty and they should act like
doing her
it.
research I read this story and there were 3 quotes in it. She walks around like high heels, she barks orders, and she's not very nice. Everything else was a rehashed quote.
And
Everything else was a rehashed quote.
She makes grown men cry.
I'll give you that one as well.
Thank you very much.
Four quotes.
Stop spouting bullshit.
Four quotes. It's a non-story about people who were not huge Hollywood stars. I'm bored by it, quite frankly.
I think it's a really interesting story.
You would do.
And it meshes with the way she behaved over here. As
She's
I
a
said
diva.
in my monologue, the Queen was so concerned by her behaviour...
that she ordered an internal report.
External report, the results of which were never published. Here's a little snapshot of the way she behaved. That even the gardener... at Adelaide House, when they were staying there, the head gardener went to the Queen and said, the way she's talking to my staff, I can't take it. The Queen was so concerned, she got in her car and personally drove to Adelaide Cottage to talk to Meghan and say, mend your ways.
She's a diva.
I don't think she actually said
She's a diva.
No.
McEnroe used to be a spoilt brat.
No.
Madonna can be a diva at times. Demi Moore was annoying.
Did we ever
such and such as a bully.
Fine. But did we ever hear about the Queen being a diva? No, we heard that she was a stoic personality.
You know something? Sorry, Samara, but you say that about the Queen being a diva. In the first 24 hours after the Queen died, what was the viral clip? It was Prince Charles waving away a flunky about his pen that didn't work, and everyone went...
He was in grief.
Everybody went. The Queen did it for 60 years and never had a crossword in public, and the King can't manage it for 24 hours. So let's stop...
Well, he was probably a bit upset. His mum had
let's
just
stop
died.
making excuses for everybody, you two.
Yeah.
Let's just say she's a diva, she misbehaves, this is a bit of a non-story.
But it is... all right,
people
OK, all right. You want to say it's a non-story, but here we are talking about it. The whole world's talking about it.
No, they're not.
It's all over Access Hollywood, a massive programme in America. So it is a story, but OK, whatever you think about it, you can think about it. However, let me tell you, it has killed their showbiz the gruesome twosomes, showbiz ambitions in Hollywood are stone dead because of this story.
And Trump is going to win
the election. We'll come on to that in a minute.
We'll come on to that. You just don't know that.
I do know it.
Hollywood will put up...
What do you know about Hollywood?
We know that Hollywood will put up with a lot because Harvey Weinstein, what he was doing in Hollywood, that should have been uncovered by the Hollywood Reporter. Forget two-bit royals. Those are the true stories. Not saying, oh, Meghan shouted at a man and he cried. Boo fucking who. Get over it.
Harvey Weinstein, for all his many faults, was a very talented film producer.
Oh, cool. Good.
The trouble with
Stop
talking over me. It's my show. The trouble with the gruesome tooth and with Harry and Meghan is they got no talent. Harvey Weinstein, terrible man, behaved appallingly, but his career was maintained by his cleverness.
And let's talk now to Talk's royal commentator Rupert Bell, who joins us live this morning. Morning to you, Rupert.
Morning, Christopher.
Now, I keep seeing this story this week like a deluded boomerang, and that is the story of Harry and Meghan and Hollywood now hating them. Now, if you do a search on the words Harry, Meghan, Hollywood, every single story, Harry and Meghan feel the wrath of Hollywood. Harry and Meghan's humiliation shows their power is draining. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's popularity is dropping fast. Prince Harry and Meghan bleeding heart moaning means they've lost Hollywood. Now, it all seems to stem from this Hollywood Reporter article, which has basically said that they are not loved by Hollywood anymore, and that basically Meghan is a dictator in high heels. That's what they said. Do you think there is truth to that? Do you think that the Hollywood power that they had when they first arrived and were doing all of these deals, do you think that this has genuinely started to go down the toilet?
Well, I think it sort of mirrors what was going on in this country about the bullying allegations that were levelled at Meghan in particular, and the problem she had when she was a member of working within the royal family circle. Now it seems that the same sort of allegations have surfaced in America. Now, they say they've got absolutely sworn affidavits and they believe the absolute truth of those articles. And clearly that's not a good look. And if you sort of read some of the stuff, it's saying that she was supposed to go to a Kevin Costner charity evening, but she didn't go because, they said she was ill, but you just wonder whether the optics that have been playing out in that Hollywood Reporter article have meant that she sort of decided to lay low. for a little while. So it just really shows that they're not an easy team to work for. I think that might be the politest way of putting it, that they've had a big staff churn over the years. So that's not a good look if you want to engender loyalty and support and try and drive a business forward. But if you've lost a lot of people, certainly some in high roles, ranking roles within their team, it's not good for them. So overall, I just feel that this is part of the problem that they have now of trying to negotiate their way through Hollywood. And certainly for the Duchess of Sussex, it's not an easy route that she's trying to navigate, because she seems to have some baggage along the way, which is causing her problems.
I think here lies the problem, Rupert, if you want my analysis, which I know you're desperate to hear, maybe. So I think that there have been many stories over the years of diva behaviour in Hollywood. Look at someone like J-Lo. Look at someone like Mariah Carey. Look at, Madonna. Look at people who have notoriously, when they are not performing, can be challenging, difficult, some might say. But you need to have a talent in order to offset that. You need to be able to say, right, OK, I might be quite difficult, but here are the goods that I produce, and here is what my angst off camera or off screen produces. The problem with Harry and Meghan is that they have no discernible talent over and above slagging off their family, which has run out of steam, really, because they've been deprived of the oxygen of the family. So at the moment, all people seem to get is them stamping their feet and being negative with no actual discernible talent or product to offset that. Do you think that's a fair comment?
I think we'll probably have to say Meghan, she was a working actress that did do quite well in a program called Suits, and she did all right in that. But what she's struggling is what she's going to be doing in the future. And it's quite interesting to see what Harry's going to be doing over the next week or so. Back on the charity beat, and big style on the charity beat in New York with the Halo Trust, going back to his roots, promoting the Diana Award. So, and with Meghan not in tow, which is another interesting potential development, and he's going to be very much focusing on him and the things that he believes in, wants to help with the Diana Award, the Halo Trust, various other projects as well. But he will be seen, and that's what he thinks now he's got to get back to doing. He's going to be coming to England in a week's time to go to the Well Child Awards as well. So we're seeing him trying to basically do the things that he was doing as a royal. And that's frustrating, I think, for everybody, because when he was in the royal family, he was a force for good. But now he's having to do it, separate of them, and that's causing them problems, because he needs to basically feel that he's a member of the royal family in all but name.
But there lies the problem, because it comes back to what it is that they actually do. And all that Harry can do is go and sort of cut ribbon and shake hand. That's his talent. And they don't really have much more to them. And they're not royal anymore. And my fear is that all they do by doing these faux royal events, and we saw it with some of these visits, is they chip away at the validity of the crown itself. Because every working royal that does royal events, they're doing so in service of the crown. They're doing so in service of the king. They're doing so in service of themselves. And I think Hollywood sees that.
I think when you look at the Well Child, I think they would take a slightly different view, because they know that he does make and he's passionate about something like that. And that's why he's coming back in a week's time, and he made a long-standing commitment. Because, as they all say, he still manages to open doors. But the problem is, how do they make those doors commercially viable? And that's the problem, because when he was protected by the royal family, he had all the sort of infrastructure around him. The money was less important. Now, for them going forward and their house in Montecito, they need the money. And that's the problem for them. How do they monetize what they are about? And that's going to be the challenge for them, and in particular for Harry.
It's a very royal scandal, Rupert.
I haven't had, had time, because I've been at the golf tournament for the last week. So I'm going back there today. I think it will be a required viewing tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Well, let's just remind ourselves of what we can expect in it.
I'm going to blow this out the water.
Do you regret any of your behaviour or your friendship with Epstein?
Now, still not.
The Queen is in shock. The bottom line is to ensure that this scandal never touches the crown.
So there we go. That was a little taster of a royal scandal. I can't wait to watch that as well. I haven't watched it yet because I'm in the middle of something else and I can only do one drama at a time. But apparently there is a question that was put to Emily Maitlis and the show includes it. What was this question?
Well, basically saying, have you suffered abuse? Because he wanted to make sure that the team that were interrogating him had no bias or, came at it from, a really personal angle, which is an odd question to ask, it would seem. I know friends who have seen a couple of episodes and said it is seriously good and it doesn't paint him in a very good light. But we know that anyway, because the whole tenet of this is he thought he could brazen it out by doing this interview. And this has once again highlighted the futility and the stupidity of his decision and the way he conducted himself during that interview. And that has led to all his problems, his isolation. Now we're hearing that he may have to vacate the Royal Lodge because the king wants to bring him within the Windsor fold. This has led to a catalyst, a catalogue of errors for him, which has made now that he's basically a prisoner in his own house.
What a bizarre question to ask in front of everyone. That's I think the thing that I can't get my head around is like sitting down for an interview and there's a team for it. Because what if the answer for anyone was yes? I mean, does he expect to Emily Maitlis or any of the team to go, well, actually, yeah, I was terribly abused in front of everyone. It's so bizarre.
Well, the theory might be that if they were, he wasn't going to do the interview with them. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would suggest, I mean, again, I'm not his advisor, thank God, but I would have suggested that perhaps before the interview would have been the time then to perhaps get that out rather than when you're sitting down and the lights are on you.
I think that may have been some of the background. That's why I've got to watch it to be 100%.
Yeah, I understand, and of course we all will be watching it.
Let's talk about Prince Harry. This is a good story. Basically, last week, him and Meghan sent out all these entreaties, written entreaties, emails, letters, notes to thousands of people, urging them to vote, to exercise their right to cast their vote in the presidential election. That's a good thing. I suppose people should try to use their right of vote. But Americans, quite rightly, and I suppose if Meghan wants to do it, typical of her, ideas above their station, it's like, Meghan, no one cares what you think. But if you must tell us to go and vote, go right ahead. You're an American, you've got every right to do it. But Americans are furious with Prince Harry for telling them to get off their backsides and vote in the presidential election on November the 5th. Why are they furious? Because he's not even an American citizen. He's got no right to vote. This has got nothing to do with him. How dare he tell Americans to go and vote in their election? Who the hell does he think he is?
I mean, I think that you are right in your assumption that this is Meghan, that Meghan is truly behind this, because Prince Harry, he grew up not voting. He grew up with that not being an option, that not being on his radar. So this is really just Harry following along, which is something we see quite often when it comes to Prince Harry. But this, while I understand the anger, I would also acknowledge that this is wildly, a softer strategy than we saw during the 2020 presidential election, where we actually had Harry and Meghan sit down on national television and really kind of endorse Joe Biden subtly.
Yeah.
They said that it was time for a change. This was one of the most important elections in their lifetime. And, it was no mystery who they were suggesting you go vote for. And also during the last election season, Meghan was doing digital voting conferences with Kamala Harris, who was not yet the VP, with former First Lady Michelle Obama, former First Lady Hillary Clinton, and Stacey Abrams, the first election denier, might I remind you, the Democrat election denier, although we only acknowledge Trump as an election denier. But they were much more involved last election season, and absolutely there is pushback this time around, but it is noticeably quieter than it was during the 2020 season.
Yeah, for example, there's a tweet here on X from Miss Kitty. Harry, you have no place involving yourself in American politics. Hashtag go home, Harry, and straighten out your own business. Stay out of ours. We don't want to hear you. And that sort of is the tenor of things. There's another one says here, Harry has absolutely no business getting involved in our country's politics, and also the royals do not get involved in politics at all. Technically speaking, over here in Britain, he can vote. It's only the king can't vote. I'm not sure whether he did, but that's over here. That's in Britain.
I believe he says during the Netflix special or one of those specials, he talks about how he's never done it. And that's interesting and new to him. And, the idea that you can in the United States. But it's not just these tweets. There are news outlets elevating the anger, like Radar Online, with the headline, Prince Harry ordered to leave U.S. by voters furious. He and wife Meghan have weighed in on presidential election. You're not even a citizen. Yeah. So it's also media saying we're going to take this to the next level by magnifying it.
Yeah. I was just going to read you a couple more because the last one makes me laugh. Here's another tweet. He needs to keep his damn mouth shut. He is not a citizen of the U.S. Another one says, our government is messed up enough without Spare and Duchess Do Nothing getting involved. Go back to England. And this is my favourite one, the third one. Hey, Harry, F off. But I mean, the point is, you're right, Kinsey. This is clearly Meghan saying, oh, we must get involved in this. And I don't think either of them are thinking it through. Because if she had any sense, and that's for debate later on, she wouldn't inveigle Harry into this. If an American came over here and started telling us to vote, we quite rightly would say, look, go home and get involved in your own election. Don't tell us what to do.
Right.
And she's perfectly entitled to do this if she wants. Don't think people will pay any attention to her, but she can do this if she wants. But she's made a mistake bringing him into it.
Well, they've also made a mistake from a branding perspective, because when you come out for or against a specific candidate, you become a polarizing figure to 50% of the country. And, it was our friend, the chairman of the Republican movement in the UK, Greg Swenson, who told the Daily Mail, by encouraging people to vote, they are essentially ballot harvesting for Kamala Harris. He said, you don't have to say it. You don't have to have a bumper sticker, we know who you voted for. And I would just chime in there and say, we also know who threatened to deport you. So we know who Harry and Meghan are going to vote for. We know who they would like for you to vote for. And in doing that, you alienate a significant amount of the country. You're trying to launch a new lifestyle brand. I'm not going to buy your candle that smells like a hoo-ha if I don't like who you voted for, Meghan Markle. I think that they're not thinking this through when it comes to marketing themselves for entertainment purposes. And it does make you think that Meghan must hold herself on a higher pedestal and imagine that there are much more deeper, bigger things coming her way either she's an idiot or she's willing to risk it because she thinks there are bigger things on the way for her in the future.
Yeah, well, it's always people always sort of line them up like this, don't they? That Meghan's the clever one and Harry just goes along for the ride. Now, I think it's fair to say out of those two, Meghan is cleverer, but that isn't saying much. I think increasingly she reveals herself not to be that smart. We discussed last week, didn't we, the absolute hash she's made of this situation with the Hollywood Reporter. You know, Hollywood Reporter interviewed 11 former members of staff of Archewell, one current. And they go to press saying why Hollywood keeps quitting on Harry and Meghan. Basically, the allegation being that Meghan's a bit of a bully. She must have recognised the truth of this, and yet she causes a big fuss, tries to make out that the Hollywood Reporter has made this story up or been fed it by a disgruntled former member of staff. Well, it's not a former member of staff, it's 11 former members of staff and one current member of staff. When you have that many people saying the same things, the wise thing for Meghan to have done would have been to just lay low and let it pass. Instead, she starts placing in the Daily Express and other papers, this is a disgruntled story, a disgruntled former employer making up lies about me, and it just makes it a lot worse. She's made a complete mess of this. So, yes, she's the brighter of the two, but I don't think she is that smart.
Yeah, and that Hollywood Reporter story saying that they changed their minds a lot. I think that you definitely see that in the last 3-4 years of the way that they've conducted themselves, even in the shift in tone for the presidential strategy. And I'm not sure that they won't say more, because they strike me as two people that are very paranoid and that become consumed with fear. And if they do feel like Donald Trump is getting any closer to the White House, and I don't have a dog in the fight, but if they do feel like Donald Trump is getting closer to the White House, I can see them becoming more aggressive and becoming more outspoken about it.
I'll tell you why I haven't got a dog in the fight, Kinsey, is because the migrants have eaten all the dogs in America. I heard that on the presidential debate the other day. They're eating the dogs.
Don't stress me. My dogs haven't left the house since, okay? Don't stress me out.
Yeah, seriously. But do you think, what would be your prediction? Let's say that Donald Trump wins the election. And it's certainly neck and neck right now. I see he's pulled ahead in a few states today. It's not. It's beginning to the direction of travel is beginning to proceed away from Kamala and towards Donald Trump, but it's very close at the moment. But let's say, for the sake of argument, Trump nicks it, that he wins on November the 5th. Do you think he'll go through with his threat to kick Harry out of America? Because he said he would, because he was appalled by the way Harry treated the Queen, and Trump, for all his faults, has a lot of time for the royal family, and he loved the Queen.
Well, I'd also like to remind you that there were rumors that Harry and Meghan were saying that they were going to Canada and would never live in America because they were appalled that Donald Trump was the president. And Meghan went on multiple shows and criticized Donald Trump. If they keep their mouth shut about him, I don't think he'll bother them. If they become disruptive, Trump likes to involve himself in things. Remember when Kristen Stewart cheated on Robert Pattinson from Twilight and Trump was tweeting about it? So if they become disruptive in any way, Trump will likely insert himself in it. That's just his type of personality. But if they lay low, I think he's got much bigger problems thanks to our current administration.
Indeed, and talking of that, didn't he tweet, was it last week or the week before, when, the week before, wasn't it, when Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris after the debate? Trump tweets, very presidential, "I hate Taylor Swift." So that's Donald for you. But yeah, interesting. I mean, he could make things difficult for Harry if Harry makes a noise and if Meghan carries on like this.
Well, and remember, Meghan picked up the phone and was calling senators. She was trying to influence senators when it came to paid leave for mothers. And some of the senators went on television and said, "How did she get my number? And why did she introduce herself to me as the Duchess of Sussex?" The Duchess of Sussex is not going to influence my vote. And kind of the audacity, it is frustrating for me that these two people continue to use their titles to try to influence certain things. If Meghan Markle wants to tell us that we need to get out and vote because it's a privilege, we women, our country, that we're able to have some sort of decision, I get that. But the Duchess of Sussex, we fought a war so that we wouldn't have to acknowledge titles, so that there's no idea of bowing down to certain people. And the fact that Meghan perpetuates that is just so irritating.
American Riviera Orchard launched at the end of March, still yet to sell a single product. That's her lifestyle site, which is supposed to sell towels and cutlery and kitchenware and cooking utensils. I don't think it's ever going to happen. It's not going anywhere fast, is it?
On March, day 365 of American Riviera Orchard, we are going to throw. We're gonna have a special. You and I. We're going to put together a special. We're going to list all of its accomplishments, and it's probably going to be the shortest special to ever live. Because I'm not sure it will exist in March. I'm not sure what the plan is, because Netflix only telling us that the Polo show's on the horizon. We still don't know when Meghan Markle's cooking show's coming. And Kevin, you know what else I just remembered? I just did a video on my YouTube about Harry's African Parks charity and how scandal-ridden it is.
Yeah, I heard about this. Go on.
Yeah, and this is another great
What's the scandal? Just tell everybody what the scandal.
I mean, that the Rangers have raped and beaten locals that they're supposed to be managing these parks, and it reminded me that Harry was supposed to be producing a documentary on Africa for Netflix, I wonder if Netflix decided to kill that because there's just too much scandal associated with Harry and African parks. How can you represent a country saying that you are, you're a good spokesperson for it when you are too associated with something that could get uglier, So I think that I wonder if that documentary was killed because Prince Harry is associated with this charity that just is so, littered with scandal right now.
Oh, just one more Harry and Meghan story for you, Rupert, today. Now, the last presidential election, they were accused of perhaps in a subtle way endorsing Joe Biden. And I mean, I don't know whether that was a fair accusation or not, but now they are being accused of what is being called ballot harvesting for Kamala Harris. And people are essentially saying that because they've written these letters to people, I mean, why Harry and Meghan are writing to people, reminding them that they need to vote, people are taking that as a covert way of them essentially saying, well, you need to vote for Kamala. Do you think that's a fair criticism?
They shouldn't be getting involved in anything to do with the American presidential election. They are the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and the last I looked, there aren't any royal titles in America. Yes, she is an American citizen, and she is probably entitled to vote. But in putting your head above the parapet and getting involved, however, maybe they see this as innocently, saying, well, basically what we're doing is we're trying to encourage people to vote. I don't think they should be going anywhere near this. And this is one of the problems for them. For Meghan, she probably wants to see herself as a political advocate and, some of the work that she does. But as the Duchess of Sussex, she can't really expect to have any status in the American political system because that's just, that's just not the way they operate.
But isn't this demonstrative, though, of Meghan always wanting to maybe reshape the rules around herself? She did it when she was a working royal here in the UK and didn't really understand the protocols and what was required. I guess she would say, probably wrongly, but she would say, well, look, we're not telling anyone who to vote for. We're just simply doing a public service by reminding people of their obligation to vote. Does that make any difference?
Well, I just don't think they should be putting their head above the parapet in any way when it comes to encourage. We're in a democracy. People should vote, but I don't think the Duke and Duchess of Sussex in America have a right to tell people to vote. You wouldn't be getting the King in this country or the Prince of Wales saying, get out and vote. They know that it's a democracy, but again, they must avoid any seeming to have any political interference. And it's a very fine line. Look, we've seen the King with, I think it was Angela Rayner this week, so involved in some work in Scotland. So again, you've got a fine line of using politicians to help. So it's something the King has to navigate as well. The Prince of Wales has to navigate, but actually going and saying, let's go and vote, you need to vote, and doing it through their own foundation, I just feel it's a bit wrong, basically.
And they must know, because during the election campaign here in the United Kingdom, and actually it coincided quite well with King Charles needing to slow down because of his illness, King Charles removed himself from public sight. That's the time where he says, right, this is nothing to do with me. I am going to go to ground, lock myself away, and that's it. Everything they do is to undermine the crown, isn't it? They must know that this is a faux pas.
Probably, but they don't always read the room. In the King's case, I think he did his birthday parade and he went to Royal Ascot and one or two other garden parties, but he never was out on the road, and it was the perfect time. But for Meghan and Harry, it's their feeling need to be the centre of attention. Now, for Meghan, I think it's part of her DNA. For Harry, he's trying to come to terms, as I mentioned before, with how he is seen to have a role within public life, particularly in America. But to start getting involved, even encouraging people to vote in an American election for a British person, just does seem to be wrong, because you also have probably an undercurrent of feeling where they are trying to encourage those votes to go to.
Prince Harry is traveling to New York City, where he will attend the UN General Assembly's High-Level Week and Climate Week New York, along with engagements for African Parks, the Halo Trust, the Archwell Foundation, the Diana Awards, and Travelist. If you're thinking to yourself, African Parks sounds familiar, it's probably because it's been plagued by scandals over the last year. Back in January, an investigation by the Mail on Sunday discovered deeply disturbing accusations of violence and torture of locals in rainforests of the Republic of the Congo by guards managed and paid for by the African Parks charity. Prince Harry was its president for 6 years until enjoying a promotion to its governing board of directors just last year. The Mail on Sunday exposed first-hand testimonials from locals alleging violent encounters with the charity, forcing them to stop entering forests where they have foraged, fished, hunted, and found medicines forever. One witness who claims he saw a brutal attack by African Parks guards says that he wished Prince Harry would use his power and notoriety to intervene in order to stop the pain and suffering caused to their community. Survivor International, a London-based human rights organization, was one of the first to approach Prince Harry about the abuse in May of last year. Harry responded by saying he would make the organization aware of the situation. There was little to no improvement, so Survivor International formally asked Prince Harry to show solidarity for the locals and victims by quitting. They said, "We hope that his stepping down from the board of directors will give a clear signal to the organization that human rights abuses in the name of conservation are not tolerated anymore." Obviously, Prince Harry did not quit his post. The Duke of Sussex once said of the charity, "The African Parks model is exactly what conservation should be about, putting people at the heart of the solution." After the original accusations went public, a spokesperson for Archwell told the Mail on Sunday, "When the Duke became aware of these serious allegations, he immediately escalated them to the CEO and chairman of the board of African Parks, the appropriate people to handle next steps." In a formal statement responding to the Mail on Sunday's investigation, African Park said, "We have a zero-tolerance policy for any form of abuse and are committed to upholding the rights of local and indigenous people." The charity manages 22 parks in 12 African countries, with 1,400 guards patrolling protected land almost the size of Britain. They claim that they save wildlife by working with local communities. If these reports are true, constructively working with local communities is actually the opposite of what is transpiring. This year, African Parks was also accused of brutality in Zambia, where locals have the right to sustainably harvest natural resources such as fish, antelope, and rabbits. According to the Mail, African Parks has managed the area since 2008 in partnership with the government. The charity says this is its only project where management responsibilities are not fully integrated, with conservation law enforcement remaining under the supervision of the Department of National Parks and Wildlife. The report explains that intimidation is a key strategy. In September of 2021, a marketplace was sprayed with gunfire, injuring villagers and innocent children. Suspects unknown, several locals told the Mail that the market shooting happened immediately after rangers arrested an individual found with antelope meat. This incident sparked demonstrations and rock throwing that damaged vehicles, including two belonging to African Parks. Meanwhile, locals within one of Africa's most important wetlands claim they are suffering a campaign of intimidation to stop them from fishing and hunting on their own land, while tourists arrive on safari expeditions that can cost up to £5,000 a day. One outspoken villager said, "Our home has become a nightmare that frightens us every day." Another local who was victim to gunfire begged for African Parks to leave, saying they have turned this place into hell. African Parks said multiple incidents had been reported to the criminal justice system, and rangers were found to have acted in self-defense due to armed threats from suspected poachers. In a 2022 annual report, African Parks admitted that it had seen a number of unfortunate interactions between residents and the park rangers, which have led to both injury and fatalities. African Parks currently has some of the biggest donors in conservation, mostly Americans and Europeans. Howard Buffett, son of Warren, is one familiar name, plus Rob Walton, heir to the Walmart fortune, pledged $1 million over 5 years, one of the biggest single donations in the history of conservation. In a recent article by the Financial Times, they explained to African Park supporters the organization is one of the most important conservation organizations in the world. To its detractors, it's a sinister land-grabbing machine and practitioner of a militaristic model of wilderness protection they call fortress conservation. Why should these white men in shorts, in the words of one former official from an African country who dealt closely with African parks, build a state within a state where your basic approach to local people is you're a pain in the arse, that they'd be better off being somewhere else? African Parks chief executive told Financial Times that he wanted to raise African Parks' tally of landscapes to 30 by the end of the decade. He also claimed that weapons are necessary both to fight off poachers and to protect rangers from dangerous animals. He says since African Parks was founded, 54 rangers have died in action. The organization admitted to the Financial Times that they were angry about a new book that slams them. The book is by an investigative journalist named Olivier Van Beeman, titled Entrepreneurs in the Wild. According to the Financial Times, it describes African Parks as a shady, militaristic organization with too much power and too little accountability. The nervous chief exec admits it starts badly on page 1, and that's the best page in the book. African Parks disputes the numerous claims in Van Beeman's book and admits that they are worried about the potential impact of donors who would this year fund African Parks' $130 million budget. In fact, there was an internal memo sent to staff warning that the organization suddenly seems to be coming under a concerted media attack. That sounds familiar, from writers peddling a narrative that pits nature conservation against humanity. While African Parks argues that private donors literally couldn't give a damn, they are worried that those with greater public exposure might cut and run. This is where I start to ask myself if Prince Harry is just African Park's puppet, a mascot to distract from their bad behavior, allegedly. The book suggests that African Parks at one point questioned whether Harry could pose a reputational risk to them, quoting a source suggesting there were fears controversies surrounding Harry might pose a risk to the organization. However, as Newsweek points out, ultimately it appears to have been the other way around, as the allegations against Rangers have caused a reputational crisis for Prince Harry. Quoted in the Times, Van Beeman said, "My investigation shows that African Parks is an opaque organization with numerous human rights allegations made against them, including torture and rape, but is not open to external criticism." He said, "I think Prince Harry and others on the board should question the organization's model, its practices, and governance, and reconsider their own roles." The book's author also told the Financial Times that African Parks had tried to block his research, saying, "It's not my purpose to burn them, but the way they react really gives you the impression that they're hiding something." In his article in the Times earlier this year, Van Beeman exposed torture testimonials from one former African Parks ranger who explained, "You tie someone up, hands and feet tied together, behind his back, and you hang him on a stick between two branches, and then you swing him around while you hit him. It doesn't last long because it hurts a lot. When he hangs there, he says everything you want, even things he doesn't know." Survivor International spoke to the Financial Times, explaining that in their opinion, African Parks is one of the worst actors in terms of fortress conservation, of violence by park rangers, and land grabbing in the name of conservation. They argue that conservation often rested on the racist misconception that Indigenous people cannot be trusted to look after land and wildlife, of which they have been guardians for generations. I mean, seriously, we trust Prince Harry and his posse to protect a space against locals whose great-great-great-great-great-grandparents lived in the same area? That's idiotic. When the Financial Times asked African Parks chief exec about the argument that Indigenous people are the best guardians of wildlife, he replied, "You've got to be careful about over-romanticizing these things." In the same piece, African Parks goes into a little more detail about what the repercussions were when it came to the male's allegations. They said they knew about two of the incidents, one in which an armed guard a female and another in which a teenage boy claimed to have been groomed for. Both rangers were fired and the alleged handed over to authorities.
This next bit of him opening his stupid mouth this week is going to actually send me over the edge. The Duke of Sussex has said that the phrase mental health should be replaced with the term mental fitness to address something that affects every one of us. Attending a conference, the Diana Award, amazing lady, the charity established 25 years ago in honour of his late mum, the Duke addressed an audience at the Sheraton Hotel in Manhattan. He called on governments around the world to listen to the problems faced by young people before making policy decisions. If his sole involvement is to say they should change the phrase mental health to mental fitness, what?
Prince Harry is a catastrophic thinker, and you can tell in the way that he communicates. Earlier this year, he told CBS every parent needs to be a first responder. I mean, everything is so extreme. Now he's saying the phrase mental health should be replaced with the term mental fitness. This guy can't even properly define the word racism. I don't trust him to change the English vocabulary.
No, I don't. And anyway, he doesn't like anything about England, so why is he involved with our vocabulary? Well, he left it because he hated us all, didn't he? Or his wife did.
I just want to play you something before we get on to this, because I've detected something has changed in the discourse between Prince Harry and the rest of the world. There's a slightly different timbre to the way he speaks. He's gone all Californian. Have a look at this.
Every single one of you has a passion project that you are focused on. But one of the reasons why I think that we are here today is because of mental health, right? And the fact that it affects every single one of us from top to bottom, from the youngest to the oldest. And I think you guys are, you're leading the charge.
You're leading the charge. You guys leading the charge. You know, that thing where you go up at the end of the sentence. Very California. He's got all Meghan Markle on us.
I thought this might be a bit of red rag to a bull for you, Mike, and particularly the fact that it's no longer in his eyes mental health, it's mental fitness.
Yes.
So, which is all part of the sort of Californian speak. I'm not sure mental health is a problem that affects many, but unfortunately, the way Harry goes about it, and look, he's on his own in New York, and he's involved in things that he has been involved with some time. Okay, the Diana Award, also the Halo Trust. He's meeting other people there. He's very much doing his sort of what he used to do in the royal family before the split. But yes, there has definitely become the sort of Californian twang to his approach and speak, which is, he just feels it's plenty of word salad. I hope there are actions that come out of this and are good, but at the same time, it's Harry being Harry.
Yeah.
And
so they're all, I mean, from what I can see, they're all sitting around congratulating each other on how brave they all are, sitting on a stage talking about, you know, mental fitness and, you know, putting it out there and, you know, doing all the sorts of things that people who have actually got real mental health problems won't give a stuff about. You know, it's like Diana Award. But, you know, I mean, who cares at the end of the day? Even Meghan doesn't think it's important enough to go with him. She's left him to go on his own. He does look a lot happier without her, though. Well,
but the Diana Award, look, remember last year, William and Harry are both involved in it. Last year, Prince William presented awards at a ceremony, and then Harry wasn't there because he then sent video message to the recipients. It's all a bit of a tragedy. The two brothers can't actually be involved in this together because prior to the split, when it came to mental health, they were very much working as a team to help with the issue. But mental fitness just does seem, I'm not sure I get that. Maybe I'm not the generation I'm trying to appeal to, but mental health, it affects a lot of people. No one's denying that. But at times, I think Harry is using it as often an easy thing to promote himself about, which might sound a bit cruel, but I think to some extent that's what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, get a real job would be what I would suggest. Go and help some real people as opposed to just talking about it on a stage in a New York hotel. That'd be my advice to him.
Let's talk about Harry. The visa application. This is really interesting. The Duke of Sussex's US visa application should remain private, despite him taking cocaine, as admitted in Spare. A judge has ruled. What is this all about, Kins? Help me out.
Yeah, so the U.S. Judge Carl Nichols said on Monday that the public does not have a strong interest in disclosure of the Duke's immigration records, and that like any foreign national, the Duke has a legitimate privacy interest in his immigration status. I would argue that if Harry is going to write unregistered voters and encourage them to take to the polls, clearly in support of a specific candidate, the one candidate that hasn't threatened to deport him, that it is in the public's interest how he got into the country.
Are you implying that Prince Harry has got involved, the Duke of Sussex has got involved in the presidential election? Are you saying he favours Carmela?
Oh, absolutely he does. Absolutely he does. I mean, they're being a little bit more careful about it this time around than they were last time around. But I think it's because they realized how polarizing it was for them last year.
And God help them if Trump gets in, sweetheart. God help them.
Thoughts and prayers. But it does show you that, you know, Prince Harry is not being received in likely the way he thought he was going to be. I mean, you have the Heritage Foundation questioning whether he had special treatment. Did he lie to get into the country? Was he properly vetted?
For people tuning in, what Kinsey and I are talking about, it's really interesting for people to think, what? If you can't go to America if you've got a drugs conviction. They're really tight on this stuff, right? So the question from the Heritage Foundation, the critics of Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, are, did they know about that when you got your visa? Did they know about this admission of being a cocaine-taking, marijuana-smoking, psychedelic mushroom-eating Duke of Sussex? Or did they not know, and did you then put it in the book after you'd got your visa, but then surely that might change the way they viewed you? That's what we're saying, right, kids?
Exactly. And the judge is telling us it's none of our business. And at the end of the day, we know he's used drugs and we know he likes to use drugs. You know, I think that reflects poorly on him. We also know that He is invited to tables he doesn't belong at and given opportunities that he hasn't worked for because of who his father and mother are. And that's just life. So did he receive special treatment? Very likely he did.
What's happened to her? She's gone very quiet, hasn't she?
Yeah, MIA Meghan. I was just having this discussion around the same time this year. Radar Online reported that the two were taking a break from each other. And
have they split up? Have they split up? My bet could be working. No.
But this is this time last year, so I think I'm curious to see that now this year we are seeing them literally taking a break from each other, and I'm wondering how much it has to do with her disappointed in their professional failures. The Hollywood Reporter.
She's disappointed in their professional failures. Why doesn't she look in the goddamn mirror and work out that she's done a job, right? She's done a job on a kid that I thought was all right. I wouldn't disrespect you, but I think it's all about one thing. The second word's whipped, right? And I'm being serious, kids. It does my head in. I'm not saying he wasn't.
You're not the only one that says. There are rumors that King Charles has said almost the exact same thing before Megxit.
I am telling you now, from a member of the royal family. That's all I'm saying. You know what? I am telling you, second word whipped. That's all I'm saying to you, right? So she's obviously, I honestly think she'll dump him. I think she'll say at some point, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I can't have her at all. I cannot have her at all.
Brilliant. Prince Harry, the man who used to have a penis, but now he's had to give it up, and Meghan keeps it in the fridge at home. Because when he travels, right, he's not allowed to do any of that stuff.
Don't take your penis with you.
Don't take that with you, because that's what got you into trouble in the first place.
Does he take it in his carry-on or his...
No, she keeps it at home. He's not allowed to take it with him.
She's got a big North Face bag,
yeah,
Julia,
indeed.
for hers.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's coming to Britain next Monday, right? Another one of his trips. Yeah. Don't forget, he's terrified to come here because it's really, really dangerous, right? Forget the fact that he went to Colombia, one of the world's most dangerous countries. Nigeria, where people get literally taken hostage every 5 minutes.
Was it for money he went to all these places?
I think
he went to Colombia for the cocaine.
Yeah, he went for the cocaine.
He likes drugs.
Not the coffee.
Yeah,
coffee.
Yeah, but he's finished with it now. But here he is. He was in New York just this week. At the Diana Awards, right?
The what?
Diana Awards, because, he's got a bit of a fetish about his own mother, which is fair enough. We all quite liked his mother. We knew she was a bit of a nutter, but never mind. It's true. There's none of that. You're going to disagree with that?
I'm not disagreeing.
Anyway, he sat there, but you know what he's done now? He's developed a Californian accent. So when people speak and they go up at the end of the sentence, and he started talking to them like, he started going, you guys, I really think that what you're doing is great. And it was, it was all going up at the end, and it was just, and he was talking about, how great the service was, and it was really good to talk about not mental health anymore.
Oh, now this is brilliant.
Health,
have you heard this?
Mental health affects everyone.
Mental fitness.
Mental fitness is now what we should talk
about.
Now,
what does that actually mean?
Unfortunately for him, he's now redefining something which actually mental health is pretty clear. You know what it means. Either you've got a problem with your mental health or you haven't.
Well, I'm going to give you a stat that I was told once. It's not even a stat, it was an opinion. I'd love to put this to all of you, because this woman once said to me about mental health, she said that everybody...
You're mental, did she say?
No, she didn't.
Your mental health is under question.
She said. No, she said that everybody, if you do mental health from a scale of A to Z, A's having a bad day, and Z is having a frontal lobotomy, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And a lot of people will have moments, but my problem with the mental health card, and I've said this before, I've been very, very honest, I think it's great we do, but I'm concerned now about the numbers of people who will use that level now. Which I think is really dangerous.
There was this whole thing about we don't talk about mental health enough. Look, absolutely,
we don't talk about it all the time,
and there should be no shame in the sense you're having mental health problems. Same as you've broken your leg. You need treatment.
Right.
However, I think we talk about mental health far too much.
Exactly right.
And it's
absolutely
we need to.
Doesn't it take away the genuine people?
No, exactly. But also, here's the thing: your mental health is not the most interesting thing about you.
No, it's really not.
I'm campaigning for two things. One is to lower awareness, of climate change,
and to convince a million people they agree with you
of mental health issues.
Yes, exactly.
Because they're both ridiculous.
Yes, but imagine trying to have that conversation, and instead of saying mental health, replacing it with mental fitness. It doesn't make any sense.
Do we think about?
We're not asking you how's your mental fitness. Yeah. What does that even mean?
That implies you can exercise your way. And I think one of the interesting things on mental health this week was again about the sickness benefits. We know it used to be we got a massive explosion of people on sickness benefits, and again the government said they're going to crack down on it. They have to be looking for work. Yeah, I've made 3 phone calls to potential employers. They didn't offer me a job because I was rubbish on the phone. Right. There you are. I've done my my bit, please give me my sickness benefits.
No.
But the ridiculous thing is, for years and years, it was backache. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It's always backache. Because if your back is aching, there's no
and nobody can measure it. You can't measure it.
And then it was stress.
Yeah.
Now it's anxiety and depression. I think there are people who genuinely suffer from this, and it's massively debilitating. And they need help. They need to be at the front of the queue. When you have, half the population claiming they've got these things.
You can't criticise somebody.
Those people go in front of the queue.
In the office, you can't say... You can't in the office say...
No.
I mean, think about what we do. We have some really good people around us. I don't know about you lot. Not you. I don't mean that. If you know what I mean? You're some 20-year-old and you want to say, well, actually, that's not right. I mean, it's
Is
like...
that what you say?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, that's not right.
Exactly the word
I use those.
Julia goes, I'm very sorry, that's not right.
I just said, come back to me when you're 30, But,
have you gone completely
but Harry
mad?
and Meghan have finished in America. They're absolutely
Well,
I think they're finished full stop.
Well, I think they're finished full stop. She has not come on this trip with him. She's not coming to Britain because she apparently...
She's looking after his penis in the fridge.
She's looking after the penis in the fridge. And also the two kids that nobody's seen, right? And, of course, she's let him go all the way to London. He's not going to meet his dad. He's not going to meet his brother. He's probably
and
going to
his
stay...
sister-in-law, who he used to live with, who's been suffering from, obviously, a very serious cancer.
Yeah.
The treatment.
He's not going to see his uncle, Andrew. I mean, everybody can understand that, I suppose. You wouldn't really want to, would you? But, I mean, the fact is he's coming here. She's not going to see him for the best part of, I don't know, 2 weeks, maybe 3. Their marriage, for me, is done. She's been in the news this week.
I got laughed at 5 years ago. Listen, I said... He will come back to the United Kingdom with a ginger tail between his legs. She'll be in California with 2 kids, and she is going to milk.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't wish that on them, though, because we are talking about 2 children involved here. The best thing you can do for kids is to be together. I'm sorry, that is the truth.
Oh, we're going to have our first ever argument. Can I just say something to you? You cannot say that. That's totally wrong. You cannot.
No, statistically,
people
the best
can't
thing
stay in a relationship when it's rubbish.
No,
I
agree with that. However, I would rather, whatever my feelings about Harry and Meghan, I would still rather they had a happy, successful marriage.
They won't, though, because she's awful.
Yeah, but I don't think...
Look, one of my 6 children's just texted me.
I don't think, I mean, the problem is, right, that, as Kevin says, they've lost the American people, basically. He's now down to kind of going to these ridiculous award ceremonies. They know Griffin when they see one. Netflix have had enough of them. Spotify have had enough of them.
But also, I said really early on, when they had her involved, everyone said it's amazing, you're mixing celebrity and royalty. Celebrity and royalty are different things. Celebrity is, the Kim Kardashians, here's a picture of my bum.
And then you open yourself up for the criticism they've had and they don't like it.
But royalty is about being the same every day, year in, year out. It's about the continuity.
Keeping your mouth shut.
You can't reinvent yourself every day if you're royalty.
But Meghan,
we're almost out of time.
Meghan being American, she doesn't understand the difference between royalty and celebrity.
Yeah.